It's all yours now.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Thomas. Always enjoy working with you. It's truly a blessing for myself and my team to work with you and your expanded team. So I want to thank Marjorie and you, of course, Dr. Thomas and Dean for now taking over the programs and really your entire Piedmont chapter of SCORE. And I can say this, guys, I am going to share a little more about SCORE, our friends at SCORE, but understand this, SCORE is a national initiative, and our local chapter, the chapter local to the upstate of South Carolina, has been recognized as one of the best in the country. And so it's always a pleasure to partner with folks who care and are passionate about their work, and especially when that passion and caring aligns with high-end competency. And that's what we've got with our partners and friends at our Piedmont chapter of SCORE. So thank you again, Dr. Thomas. It's just a blessing for me to get a chance to really talk, about our work and our collective work and our respective entities that we represent. Really in today's, in our time together today, I'm actually going to really work to drill in on three primary objectives. First of all, I do want to drill in a little and introduce you to a little more about the consortium that I represent, being our South Carolina Small Business Development Centers, in addition to a little more about the Piedmont chapter SCORE that we were just referencing. Secondly, and probably the bulk of the time and what draws you guys here, I really want to share per our experience and training, our preferred path to starting a business and why, and make the case that an intentional process-driven manner that aligns with our preferred process is the way to go. And really going to make that case and work hard to do that, really to the benefit of you and your family. And I've got some perspective looking back at this. So I joined Clemson University in our work with our Small Business Development Center, honestly, in 1998. I transitioned from a career as a banking officer at that point in time into this work, and so it's been a lot of hands-on, and then if you get that along with additional training through the years, and then consensus from like-minded professionals as I work part of a statewide and actually national team, and then beyond that with our folks at SCORE, is a lot of validation in the process that we advocate and the rationale. So really going to spend bulk of our time here. That's really where the value to me, to you lies in our time together. Beyond that, we will dial up a very simple one slide guidance on if you would like to take advantage of our SBDC and SCORE support services, how to do that. And I'll share with this with you up front. Our consulting guidance and mentorship relationships are absolutely at no cost to you. And we provide that in a professional and confidential manner. So, it'll be there for you to take advantage of. In setting the stage to drill in on our objective number one, a little deeper dive, first of all, about our statewide South Carolina Small Business Development Centers and SCORE. Here, you'll just kind of understand this if you come at it from the problem perspective, and then really our national network of SBDCs and SCORE chapters are part of the solution. So if we take that approach, just kind of follow me with my cursor, if you would. Here's the problem. And this goes back, this is long-term data. Long-term data, we're talking 4 decades of data and counting, and it's been really consistent. This is data points per the Small Business Administration Office of Advocacy. And here's the issue. Although privately held small businesses in the U.S., long-term data accounts for about 80% of all new jobs created in our economy year in and year out. And they account for just south of 50% of all jobs from an employment of the workforce perspective. Even at that, less than 3 in 10 celebrate a 10-year anniversary. So again, public policy issue. This was first addressed in the late 1970s under the Carter administration, and then picked up and beefed up by President Carter's successor, President Reagan, under the Reagan administration. You'll find that our SBAs, our SBDC, if you would, officially, that was stood up in the late 70s, then joined our friends at SCORE that actually originated some point earlier, to be combined as a support resource, a meaningful support resource that you guys can access and lean on as needed, again, at no direct cost to you whatsoever, in a confidential manner. And we have a very specific missions per our respective entities. Here's the thing that interests me. What is driving that high failure rate? Because the process that we advocate for building a business, no matter where you are in the process. I know, given our topic, most of you guys are likely early start or what we call pre-venture, haven't even really started officially yet, just getting your head and your arms around it. Here's the thing we ask you to understand. The key drivers for that high failure rate of any business launched in the U.S. being honestly a little over 7 out of 10 that don't make it to celebrate the 10-year anniversary. First key headwind, lack of understanding of who the market is. And Dr. Thomas and her team and my team, we work with folks day in and day out, looking to start a business as part of our work. We'll ask the question, who's your market? And believe it or not, quite often we hear everybody. And we can really help you if that's where your mind is right now, because that is absolutely the top headwind against building it the right way from the onset. The second thing that's folks need to understand is, when they understand the market, you really have to be able to actually set yourself apart from all their other options. We'll also ask folks looking to start a business, who's your competition? And folks will say, I have no competition. Some folks, well, those folks are a sitting duck to be a statistic, quite frankly, because again, this is 4 decades of data and counting. And so these are the main two culprits. I lump that together, quite honestly, as the key components of market feasibility. And the process we'll look at shortly is progressive in that it starts with market kind of personal fit, market feasibility, and then gets into the financial feasibility aspect, which brings up a good opening to introduce the third key headwind that you guys will need to navigate to mitigate these odds and be one of those that celebrates a 10-year anniversary and then some, is lack of adequate capital on the front end. I can tell you, as a prior banker, the time to approach a bank, any lender or any funder, whether they're a lender or capital partner for capital, is before your back's against the wall, and demonstrating a competency of seeing ahead of the turn and understanding what you need from a capital commitment before you fully execute a game plan. So that's really what I would share. Also, inadequate management and leadership skills. Sometimes most folks looking to build a business are passionate about that business. They may literally be an expert in that business, but if you've never managed concern and never led a team, then there may be some blind spots, and we provide for that. The bulk of our work, honestly, is taken care of through no-cost guidance and mentorship. And then we're also there, our friends at SCORE and our small business development centers, to provide no low-cost business training opportunities specific to the needs of small business owners and management teams. And then finally, we're also charged with vetting quality complementary resource referrals and making sure hopefully you don't get scammed if you jump online looking for any given type of help for your business that might be a little bit out of our scope of work. We just want to make sure that you're working with somebody that's trustworthy. If you're working with somebody beyond our SBDC and SCORE, which eventually you will need a complementary team wrapped around you. Okay, if you advance far enough in the process. Just an overview, our Small Business Development Center, you'll see our statewide consortium brand. It's really part of a national network of SBDCs. You'll find SBDCs in all 50 states and U.S. territories at this point in time. South Carolina was the 6th state to take advantage of this specific opportunity that's actually that provides for guidance to the assistance of the for-profit small business sector that, again, creates the majority of, by far the majority of new jobs year in and year out in our domestic economy. This matching grant is administered through the Small Business Administration. And then again, it's a matching grant, so it requires dollar for dollar match. The bulk of that in our South Carolina SBDC comes from the partnership of our friends in Columbia that really have to sign off and allocate funds year in and year out in our state budget. And again, it's there as an investment on behalf of the for-profit small business sector, the folks that are really creating the majority of new jobs throughout South Carolina, no matter which county, which of the 46 counties you may find yourself. And we have to earn our keep every year. And we're happy to do that. As a matter of fact, we're not designed as a center to be a profit center at all. But the latest numbers on that, we typically, our clients, per their job growth alone, verified job growth of their business contributes a little south of $9 to every dollar invested from a statewide perspective in our support work. So again, there's no free lunch, but I want to explain to you, we're bought and paid for on your behalf, and why that's a good investment of the state of South Carolina and more broadly our country. So with that said, the sponsored grant does require higher ed host. I work personally for Clemson University. My immediate teammates who cover 11 counties, the upstate of South Carolina, and the rural counties hubbed around Greenwood, also are all Clemson employees. We proudly wear the brand of the Powers Family College of Business here at Clemson University. And our role is very simple from a college and university perspective. It's all about societal impact through our direct service to the for-profit small business sector here in South Carolina. We partner with our friends at SC State, USC, and Winthrop in a collective manner that we brand as our statewide consortium, the South Carolina Small Business Development Centers. Our friends at SCORE are also part of a national network of over 10,000 volunteers that are dedicated to the support of the small businesses here in the U.S. and their entity is also administered by our friends at the U.S. Small Business Administration. So with that said, first objective, we'll check the box. We're really going to drill into our second objective that brings us together today. And this is really our preferred approach to starting a business. Now, keep in mind, what are the key headwinds that literally become the death knell, if you would, to over 7 out of 10 businesses in the U.S. if you're trying to build a business with lasting power? And well, lack of understanding of who the market was, right? And then if you understand who they are and relative to the competition out there, you'll be much better positioned to actually craft out how you're going to earn your fair share of business to make your business successful. So those two are joined at the hip. That's about market feasibility. This is something we probe on the front end. I look at it as phase one work. And in this phase of work, I just kind of termed it, for our sake of discussion, as preliminary feasibility assessment. We adopt the carpenter's rule: measure twice, cut once. Measure twice, cut once. This is the first measure. This is kind of the low-hanging fruit. What can you find out in a hurry or already know about yourself and where you are from a standpoint? Is this the right time for you? Is it the right fit for you? And then is it the right idea for you? And when you get into the idea perspective, that's when this issue of understanding who the market is and who your primary target market segments are, and enough about the competitive landscape to carve out how you're going to set yourself apart and win your fair share of business to make this thing work for you and your family. That's the first measure. Then it's a much more deeper dive. And so it's kind of a red light system. Yeah, where you are on the front end, do not proceed with caution. And then our friends at SCORE have a mechanism to be able to work with you, get your head around that, get some comfort level about that, and then proceed into a much deeper dive development of a plan. It'll be that second measure. That is a caution light. What do you do at a red light, or excuse me, at a yellow light? If you're going to proceed with caution. Okay, so think of this as a blinking yellow light. Again, proceed with caution per your discretion. And then green light, this is then you're getting into the actual implementation. So you've measured twice, carpenter's rule, right? Measure twice. This is where you would make that cut. You're saying, all right, measure twice, got a refined game plan, clearly articulates, I understand who the market is, and understand how I'm going to set myself apart in a manner to earn more than my fair share to make this thing work. And I'm fully capitalized, such that if I hit my target and hold my budget as projected over the first 3 years in check, this thing works for all concerned, including myself and my family. Okay, so that's really where we'd like for you guys to be. And I'd say this before we move from this particular visual and drill in a little more on each phases of work, really that's part and parcel to the process that we advocate. We really encourage you guys to commit at this point to becoming what I refer to as a strategic business owner. That's a business owner that manages with intention in a strategic manner. This is a manner that's befitting for the long-term interest of yourself, your family, and those you serve through your business. So there's a saying, the Kauffman Foundation for Entrepreneurship was the first place I ever heard this saying, and it goes back 2 decades when I was visiting there upon certification in one of their programs. They said it this way: begin with the end in mind. Our friends at EPI say it this way. They say plan backwards and execute forward. Saying the same thing. Guys, I'd say this: understand what you're trying to build. More importantly, why are you trying to build this? What do you envision at the end of the day accomplishing with this business? And then let's plan from that point backward, and then you execute from phase day 0 forward at the appropriate time. So that's really having a strategic mind's eye toward approach to what you're building. And I can assure you that puts you in the best position to mitigate those key headwinds if you decide to move forward with your project. So that said, just going to drill in just a little bit, because most of you are here. This is kind of probably where you are right now. And this is great. So I'm just going to drill in. One thing about we'll ask folks that come, again, Dr. Thomas and her team, my team and I, will ask folks too who are looking to start a business, why are you interested in owning your own business? And we'll hear a lot of good responses. Kind of makes sense to me from my training and experience. But also sometimes we'll hear, hey, I'm tired of working 40 hours a week. Now, if you're tired of working 40 hours a week and your goal from a personal goal perspective is to replace a full-time income, well, I got news to you. We just need to have a conversation around a reality check. This is likely going to be a much heavier lift for you than 40 hours a week. So we just need to have a discussion around that. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. It might be the right fit for you. It just might not be the right time. Sometimes when we're working with somebody on the front end, kind of phase one, preliminary feasibility phase, we'll explore, how comfortable are you with some measured amount of risk? And if the response is 0, I can't have any risk on my plate at this point in time, then that's likely not going to be an option that you want to spend a whole lot of time looking at. There's most traditional lenders that participate in small business lending programs. I'm speaking of SBA 7A lender programs participants, as well as SBA 504 loan participants, as in addition to CDFIs or community development finance institutes, are really gun shy about supporting or stepping up as a funding partner for a startup in general. Now, that said, they have some outstanding programs for you guys as you stand that business up and get market validation through financial performance after a year or two. So there's a place for that. So the SBA really then puts more of an emphasis through a set of community development finance institutions to take that risk to fund startups, and they'll consider startups, and that's part of their calling. So I say all that to say this: I know of none that would have fund anything without you having what they call skin in the game. So some amount of cash investment on the front end, such that if that thing falls down, you're going to get skin up too, just like they are. And so that's just a common approach in banking in general. But honestly, from a small business perspective, in the startup vertical category, it also holds true. So, that's just something you need to understand. Understand this about funding on the front end as well. All small business loans that are backed by the SBA, whether they be microloan or 7A or 504, they will require a personal guarantee from anybody that has at least 20% ownership stake or more. If that's a problem for you, what does that mean? That means if the loan goes bad, you're still on the hook to pay this thing. It doesn't matter if you've shuttered the doors or not. That loan commitment is not compartmentalized to the business. I don't care what business entity you've established, okay? Whether it's sole proprietorship, LLC, subchapter S, even C Corp, a personal guarantee connects you personally to the debt, regardless. You're on the hook. You need to understand that on the front end. If that's a deal killer for you, there's no need in wasting your time and energy it's going to take for you to proceed from this preliminary low-hanging fruit consideration point. If that makes sense, then let's say we get past the personal fit, right time, right idea, and then we want to probe again with what you know already, low-hanging fruit, and what we can find out in a hurry. We just want to probe, does it appear that you could actually build a business around your idea and meet your personal needs for income out of the business, if part of that plan is for you to work inside the business? okay? And so we just want to probe this early. We suggest a pitch or a lean plan. And our friends at SCORE, they have a lean plan. It may be in the form of a business canvas map, but it's very akin to the same plan. This takes really, this is an opportunity for you to sketch out your game plan and the different elements that need to be there. Again, with low-hanging fruit, what you know and can find out in a hurry, and just kind of assess it. This is the first measure. Okay, we have conversation around that. You're ready for a deeper dive. Yeah, everything appears to check all the boxes. Let's move forward. That's going to be a much more concerted effort. We really, it's going to revolve a more comprehensive market study. Our SBDC support team, I would encourage you, by the way, start with your SCORE mentor and make sure this is right for you and that you got the base components ready. And then I would encourage you to ask them if they wouldn't mind loop in our SBDC's folks as support. If you come to us first, you know, we've got a program, we can get you started, but we really would love, you know, to have quality SCORE mentors wrapped around you from the get-go. So I would say start with our friends at SCORE. And then if for some reason they don't loop us in when you get into a much deeper dive and you've kind of checked the box on preliminary feasibility per the process, you know, just a general reminder. And actually, I think a lot of, from a market intelligence support perspective, we can bring, I think, a great deal of value to you guys, to you and your SCORE mentor support team. Our center spends statewide a little over $20,000 per year currently on market intelligence reports to provide the latest outlooks for various verticals that are common to small businesses throughout the U.S. We also have access to localized data that could be of help if you're, again, much deeper dive on the market feasibility side of things through a more comprehensive drill in on the market study perspective. Also, I think our friends, our folks at the SBDC are perfectly positioned to, again, join and support in a team effort, wrapping a good team around you and complementing the work of our friends at SCORE as your mentors with support around financial modeling of the idea as proposed per the deeper dive market outlook, and then stress testing that that project in a way that most SBA lenders stress test when they underwrite a project. So that opens the door for me to say this. And guys, if you don't hear anything else I'm saying today, I hope you'll hear this from me. This is what I suggest for anybody looking to actually expand or start a business. Even if you're going to fund this thing 100%, personally, your own money, you don't need to sell anybody else. Don't need to sell a lender. Don't need to sell a capital partner. You got it. You got enough to cover it. Okay. Even if that's the case, I strongly suggest that you work with your SCORE mentor and SBDC support team to assume that you would actually need a standard SBA loan to make this happen. Doesn't mean you would take the loan. Doesn't even mean that you would apply, but assume you would have to withstand underwriting scrutiny, all other things equal, to move forward. I would adopt that as a proxy for project feasibility before I would jump in and proceed into the full launch of a project. And I'd strongly encourage you to do that. It doesn't mean that you're, even going to apply for a loan or let alone close the loan. But if you adopt that, and really, I think our SBDC folks are trained to a point, we have the support tools, we can stress test this, that project and put that, put the scrutiny to it and have conversation. If we see a leak, And then maybe, you know, if we can identify that, we can work in concert with you and your SCORE mentor team, kind of plug that lead, get that thing refined, and then hopefully, you know, we've served you even better as a collective group. So, you know, that would be my encouragement. All this work actually rolls into a comprehensive marketing plan with very specific price points relative to direct costs that gets us to very specific margins. And, you know, everything kind of rolls into a comprehensive business plan, you know, in this particular phase. And that's quite frankly the final deliverable. And it is a collaborative process. To me, the process of collaborating and working through feasibility assessment through the business planning process is where the value lies for you guys. Again, 70+% chance, 4 decades of data and counting, that you guys would fail. How do you mitigate those odds and manage those odds for you and your family's sake? And I would strongly suggest by following the process that we're laying out. Following the process we're laying out, this process prevents you from providing a clear-headed go decision and launching something that hasn't been fully assessed to the best of our collective ability. And you understand there's no, you know, we can stress test and what we come up with and have conversation around worst case scenario. But unless you're buying a business as an entry point, you never know. I mean, you really don't know until the market reacts. Okay, so you just understand it's not 100% probability of anything, quite frankly, in the immediate term. But so with that said, if measure twice, and then if you decide to move forward with launching your business, there's a prescribed method that we suggest to do that. And it really entails a very sequential pre-launch activities, set of pre-launch activities that need to happen in order. So again, it is sequential, and just certain things you need to do before you do something else. I'll give you an example. If you decide to move forward with this thing, then you're going to need to establish a legal entity and determine what that's going to be. From there, on behalf of the legal entity, you'll open a business checking account and you'll apply for the various licenses, permits that you will need. Why would you do it in that order? Well, because if you don't, and you open checking account, apply for licenses, and then you decide to shift from a sole proprietorship to an LLC or subchapter S or C Corp, then you got to come back and undo all that stuff and do it again. So again, it's in order. There's a reason for that. What we do is actually lean on the South Carolina Business One-Stop 9-Step process. This process was developed by our friends at the South Carolina Department of Commerce in concert with the South Carolina Secretary of State's office. It is now maintained, if you would, by South Carolina Department of Commerce. I say all that to say this: they've got the links there as you navigate their process. They've got the links and the guidance that'll put you on the different licenses that you're required to have, and have the forms there in front of you. Make it simple. If you're going to set up an LLC and you dare to do that without legal counsel, and you can, if it's especially the Secretary of State's office will allow that. If you're going to be the sole member of the LLC, they'll allow it. It's a 2-page form. I'll yield to your discretion. That's the one thing our SBDC cannot provide is legal guidance, because we're not attorneys and we don't staff attorneys. So, you know, if that's something that you feel like you can navigate, there is some do-it-yourself guidance. And again, if you're going to be a single member LLC, you know, it's, you know, you can proceed down that path. But again, you want to get this stuff in lockstep. And if you just decide to push that forward again, using the platform, SCBOS platform. It's going to have everything you'll need in front of you, including the articles of organization for an LLC here in South Carolina. So with that said, one thing about the process, this 9-step, I would say, we're trying, I'm hoping our friends will change this sooner than later. They have everything nailed in the process. No problems there. We really like it a lot. Appreciate their hard work and keeping that current. Here's the thing. They have a step 8, obtaining the loan. What I suggest is we push that up to follow step 1. Step 1 is planning. So you're already in step 1, right? When we finish working with you, you'll be able to check that box. And what I'd say is, first thing you want to do is make sure you get capital commitment that you need to implement. Because again, why do you want to set up the legal entity, open business accounts, take out licenses, and only to find out, hey, I couldn't get my loan? All right, you got to turn around and pay to undo all that stuff. So yeah, let's just get the loan commitment on the front end, and and really the plan, all the work in planning. Again, first and foremost, that's for your eyes. That's for your clarity to make a more adult decision that's more informed to say yay or nay. I've got a game plan that's that I've worked hard to mitigate the risk, and it appears that I can build a business to suit my goals around this game plan. And now I've got full commitment for my funding. I'm ready to go, and then proceed from that point. I hope that makes sense, that line of rationale. I do want to say again, you're not really in growth mode yet. You're still pre-venture, and and then you'll enter into startup and kind of emerging phase. But I want to encourage you to right now make a commitment to yourself and your family and say, my family and I are important enough that I commit on the front end to being a strategic minded business owner. And that means, again, not only am I beginning with the end in mind and planning backwards, and now I'm going to execute forward that plan and keep refining and adjusting as I go per the market feedback, but also I'm going to keep my eyes on the prize, why I'm doing this to start with. I'm going to actually set aside a reasonable amount of time every year to work on my business as an owner, rather, and do that type of work that's required to be a true strategic owner of a business, rather than being locked inside of it, chasing my tail 365 days of work, working inside the business only. I'd strongly encourage you to make that commitment. If you make that commitment, I encourage you to build the right team around you, and I think our friends at SCORE could be a big part of that team. And I'd make the case that my teammates and I are positioned, we are uniquely positioned then to be looped in and complement your team at SCORE regarding our expertise in building and working with established healthy companies that are committed to scaling growth the right way in a strategic manner. And it'll be an honor to work with you. We'll look forward to it. So, you see the benefits, honestly, of strategic growth. Clarity. In a word, it's clarity. Clarity of the most current situation. Again, we can push market intelligence, give you the latest industry outlook per the industry analyst and economists that are paid by high-end groups to follow that industry vertical. And it's and also challenging you once a year through a strategic assessment conversation to refine and make sure you always have clarity of purpose. Because again, your reasoning, your rationale may change, it may evolve, it may grow. And so we want to make sure that your long-term direction target point as identified originally remains accurate. And if not, it's adjusted. And then, because that provides the clarity of your most pressing, most urgent priorities at any given time. And honestly, you can only do so much. So, it's best to have clarity about, okay, I've got a broad set of things that are important that I need to deal with as a business owner. This specific set that I can really sink my teeth into and make happen in a defined short period of time and really want to focus on are the ones that are most urgent. They're the ones that are most urgent. So I'm going to work in a focused manner with my support team, and that likely will include a mentor from SCORE and hopefully teammates of mine at the SBDC, and obviously yourself and your immediate support team when you're in to make those things happen. And then guess what? Repeat, repeat, repeat. Now, of all the things that are important that you need to do to move you from where you are today to your destiny over time, your chosen destiny for your vision, what's the next set? A really short-term, defined time period, short-term actions that need to happen to move you, to advance you at this point forward. Again, allows you to focus, clarity through focusing by understanding the most pressing. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be important. If you're going to move from where you are at point zero to where you're committed to going 10 years out, there's a lot of stuff that's got to happen. Key is, per our experience and training, narrow that down to a set of no more than 5 critical actions that need to happen. And let's put a time frame on it. Likely it's going to be in terms of 90 days. And then who's responsible for making that happen? And then you'll have SBDC and mentor support at SCORE there to support you per our scope of work. But our scope of work is guidance, and then we loop in, support resources as needed to fill gaps. But at the end of the day, it's on you typically, but, having this conversation, we have that discussion. Okay, who's going to make this happen? It's in your set of no more than 5. It's got to happen this 90 days in this set of most urgent matters to take care of. Okay, who owns that? Somebody's got to own it. And then, we agreed to a follow-up call, 90 days to work hard to hold each other accountable. And we agree on the front end, guys, we should care enough about each other, honestly, to hold each other accountable, okay, for what we agree. And so that to me is my pitch. And again, this is a collective perspective. I've kind of shaped the way I go at it based on my experience. And again, as we began our time together, I transitioned to our work with our Small Business Development Center here at Clemson University as part of our larger statewide SBDC consortium in 1998. I transitioned from a career as a banking officer with an emphasis on lending, and it's really an honor for me to get a chance to work with my partner, Dr. Thomas, in concert with you. Between the two of us, we've got, I have an MBA at Clemson University that I went through when I was a banking officer, and Dr. Thomas has an MBA from North Carolina State to complement a PhD that she brought, with her to NC State. So, it's an honor, for us. And I think what you'll find as you move through in the process, and I would encourage you, start with our friends at SCORE, and then, I would ask, if for some reason, they don't see a need at some point in time to loop in my teammates and I for additional support, then I would say, maybe if you'd ask, for that, because again, I feel like we have complementary support to provide. especially as you, kind of get the initial feasibility checked, this, you're good to go, you're moving forward with this. And I say that because, again, we're not mutually exclusive. It's not like you have to pick one or the other. No, the SBA administers both of our initiatives, and we're here to work in concert as a support team wrapped around you. And we hope you'll take advantage of that. We're kind of unique, honestly, in the upstate. And that's thanks to my friends in the leadership at the Piedmont chapter SCORE. Because honestly, I can just tell you, it's not like this in all 46 counties throughout South Carolina. We're working to do our part as a role model, and we're hopeful that by the time our work, hopefully one day, Marjorie and Dean and Dr. Thomas and I will look back, and my teammate will look back and say, man, we made an impact, because now they have the same type of SBDC SCORE working relationship and the support of folks that are very important to our communities throughout all 46 counties, not just here in the upstate. So, we're trying to be good role models in service of you guys by joining hands and not really worrying about who gets credit for what. It's about serving you. And honestly, we're not mutually exclusive at all. And so hope you'll take advantage of the opportunity. So with this said, I want to thank my teammates at SCORE for providing me an opportunity to come step into one of their platforms and speak about our thoughts on starting a business that as it coincides with their rationale as well. And if you'd like to move forward through the process, given what you know now, simply respond to an email recap that's going to be administered through our teammates at SCORE. And this will facilitate your request for no-cost support with SCORE. And then, I encourage you, as you see yourself progressing past that initial measure, and you feel like, yeah, you're moving forward, and you begin that much deeper dive in planning into phase 2 work, the way I laid that out. Again, if you wouldn't mind, just a general reminder or request to your mentor at SCORE to loop us in. And if there's, if they have any questions about what value we could bring to your specific project, just ask them if they wouldn't mind. Just ping me. They'll have my contact information, or you can ping me direct. And here's my contact information. Just ping me direct, and if I, just let me know what's going on, and I'll make sure we're all on the same page to the best of my ability. Because again, at the end of the day, we're bought and paid for. SCORE support and our SBDC for you to leverage as needed. And I can just tell you, the odds make the case for me. Over 70% of folks trying to build a business here in the U.S. don't do it. It just don't make it. That's just the reality of it. So again, take advantage of all that's there to mitigate those odds for you and your family, and turn the tables on that. And no doubt it'll be in your best interest. With that said, direct contact again for Dr. Thomas and myself. And I would encourage you to start with your friends at SCORE, work through get through that initial feasibility. And then if you see this has legs and you're moving forward again, just ask them to loop us in, or you can reach out to me direct. I'd love to do it as part of a support team that includes our friends at SCORE if possible. And, we'll, again, it's not mutually exclusive. So we'll look forward to it. And again, your needs will change. So, let's say you get this thing started, 3 years from now, your needs will be a little bit different. 5 years from now, it'll be a little bit different. 10 years from now, a little bit different. We're designed to be with you throughout your relationship, throughout your journey, through a relationship-driven approach, not just what I would call a transactional approach. So, we're here for you. Take advantage. Dr. Thomas, I appreciate it. It looks like we've got a couple of questions in the chat, maybe?
No, actually, those are my comments. So
Yeah, okay, good. So if you guys, have, I did not mean to give you vertigo. Sorry about that. So if you guys have any questions or If you have any questions or comments, if you want to dial those up. If not, thank you for your interest, your time, and Dr. Thomas, they will get an email recap per our next steps of how to move forward if they want to take advantage. Likely, well, probably by the close of business tomorrow. As soon as that, you're thinking?
Uh, I want to say Friday tomorrow, but it could go out to Monday. So they will,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Mariana Drain has a question.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mariana, please.
The chat is disabled, so that's the
Uh,
reason you have no questions.
That makes it
Oh,
easier. Yeah, so thank you for that heads up. And Mariana, if you guys don't mind, if you want to just unmute yourself if you have a question, and Dr. Thomas is going to see if she can fix the chat feature. But hey, we'll just do it old school. If you guys
okay.
are okay with that and just want to unmute and just fire away, we'll just have a conversation around.
I think it is open now if you want to try it. But if you raise your hand, I can open up the microphone too. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Angela says, thank you. Good information. Well, thank you, Angela, for the feedback. Any thoughts, concerns at all? If not, guys, it was great to zoom in with you. I hope you guys got what you were looking for. Again, you know, this is done several ways. I observed for years as our leadership friends at the Piedmont chapter score, there's a lot of programs that are designed to be, you know, multi-hour, and it's good information, but I really, you know, we really wanted to provide a platform for you guys on the front end to really get your head around feasibility of starting, you know, focus on what mitigates the odds. And then there's a time to drill in and deal with questions that are around business entity types, licensing. And again, in our preferred process, that happens after you've measured twice and decide to move forward. It's intentional, because if we, to me, and a lot of them lump it all together in a 2 to 3 hour workshop. Here's my concern, and I was part of those types of workshops for years in this work. Here's my concerns. We say this same stuff in the front end of the workshop, and then the rest of the hour and a half or 2 hours, then we're going over how to establish an LLC versus a subchapter S corporation, how to establish a DBA checking account, merchant service agreement requirements if you're selling stuff that most folks would use a Visa or comparable for. We spend 2 hours on that. Guess what you hear at the end? It's not how valuable, it's critical for you, for yourself and your family to measure twice before you decide to move forward and how to do that properly. And I've seen a lot of folks come out of that and you know, jump into something, and honestly it was not planned, and they did not mitigate any of the odds, and they didn't make it. And so this is the measure, this is the right approach. Trust me on that. We're here for you, and we're here for you. And I appreciate your patience and your attention. With that said, I'll yield to Dr. Thomas, and well, I'll say thank you. I hope we get a chance to work with you guys soon. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you, Ben. Thank you for everything. Thank you for the kind words for SCORE and about me. It's always an honor to work with you, and I really, and be at SCORE, really appreciate your time, the time you give us to hold this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the day.